Jeez. Oh my God, this is broken. This is broken. And let's dive into the patch notes. The critical need to know things. When the hell can I play it, CDome? On PC, March 14th. Okay, so that's next week. Today is March 8th. March 14th is Tuesday. Technically, it won't be live until like late in the night on Tuesday. So by Wednesday morning, you'll be able to play. Live server, new update March 15th. Then console is March 22nd into the 23rd. So like late night Wednesday or early morning Thursday on the 23rd, you will be able to play it on console. Number 2, map service changes. Now, again, this is test server we're playing on tonight, so don't really pay attention to this. The live server, when this comes to live server, we are on the random map region. Okay, so that's like EU, North America, etc. Asia, and I forget what other region has the map selection. We don't have that option. So for our region, we no longer, this is painful to read and say, we no longer have Vikende for a month. We now have Erangel 20%, Miramar 20%, Deston 20%, and they took out Vikende and they took out Karakin and they put in Tego and Paramo. I'm not mad at the Tego coming back, but God, the Paramo coming back is just it just sucks to see, especially considering it's because Vikende is leaving, which is like one of their best made maps, and it's brand new. Like I don't understand why they continue to take out the loved brand new big maps and do this exchange concept. Hopefully they figure out a solution for that soon. And that's the same thing for console, Xbox and PlayStation. Okay. All right, so the elephant in the room, or should I say the French assault rifle, the Famas in the room, is the brand new crate weapon that is now replacing the AUG in the game. It's on every map, thankfully, not just a few maps. And the Famas is interesting. I only played with it for like 30 seconds on the training mode just to kind of do some basic sprays, and I posted that on Twitter, so you guys probably already seen that. If you don't follow me, follow I am CDome on Twitter. That link will be down below. But the weapon can go in single fire, burst mode, nobody's going to use burst mode or single fire, and full auto. You can attach up to a 6x scope. It takes 5.56 ammo. Damage is at 39 per shot, which is actually on the lower end for 5.56 assault rifles. However, its rate of fire is 900 rounds per minute, which is incredibly fast. This thing, I mean, it just rips through the magazine. Speaking of the magazine, you can only put a muzzle on the front. You cannot put an underbarrel grip or a magazine on it. So you can't even have a quick draw magazine to increase the reload speed. No magazine changes, no increased ammo count. It's 30 rounds. That's a wrap, but it bleeds through the magazine like a vector. It's insane. And I'll show you in just a little bit. We'll actually play with it for a bit and test it out. And so I think the reason why they did that nerf to the magazine is because of this right here. 900 rounds per minute is insane rate of fire. All right, gameplay balances. So the Famas goes in the crate. The AUG, the beloved AUG, comes out of the crate, which, yes, that neon progressive DJ AUG skin is going to be live next week as well. So just in a coincidence kind of timing, the AUG comes out of the crate, and wouldn't you know, we have a progressive skin ready to go for it. So the AUG got a buff. Now listen to this. The AUG has 1 less damage per bullet now. It used to be 42, but now it's 41. Okay, so not a huge nerf to the damage, but it is a little bit. However, the rate of fire actually increased from 700 to 750, and the rate of fire, it means a lot, because when you talk about damage per second, that's how many bullets you can get out per second. So if your gun is shooting more bullets per second, you're going to have a higher damage per second overall. So interesting change they did that here. Bullet velocity did see a bit of a nerf. It's 50 meters per second slower. So it won't, laser beam your target quite as fast. But to be honest, 50 meters per second will go pretty much unseen. Like the average player won't notice 50 meters per second slower of a bullet velocity, considering it's still almost 900 meters per second. Recoil has been generally adjusted, slightly increased. What I take this as is they increased the horizontal and the vertical recoil slightly, but we'll do some testing to really find out if it feels much different. But spoiler alert, it doesn't feel that much different. The M4 has also seen a nerf. So you got the Famas going in the crate, the AUG coming out of the crate, and at the same time the AUG comes out of the crate, they took the M4, which was the king of 5.56, and they brought it down lower than where it was before. So this is an interesting change because they made the M4 harder to control with higher horizontal recoil, and they lowered the damage by 1. The reason why I say this is an interesting change is because already the AUG is going to be fighting for dominance as the top 5.56 assault rifle, just for the fact that it came out of the crate into the world spawn. And then you went a step further and nerf the M4 a little bit more. That to me is an unnecessary change. And if anything, it's just going to further push people to the new weapon, the AUG, which is now in the crate with the progressive skin creator code CDome at checkout. You can make that decision as to why they did that. All right, M16 and Mark 47 Mutant. These are two slept on weapons. They always have been slept on weapons. And if you haven't seen me talk about them or showcase in some of the gameplay or the YouTube videos, they can be extremely deadly, especially the Mutant. The Mutant is one of the only weapons that can 2-tap a level 3 helmet. So any gear target you come across, 2 bullets to the head and they're dead. Now they increase the rate of fire by 200 rounds per minute. I haven't used these weapons in the game yet, but you can just imagine going from 600 rounds per minute to 800 rounds per minute on the single and burst fire mode. So these things are going to shred. They already were really good, but now in a skilled player's hands, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure. Shotguns, surprisingly, are seeing a nerf to their spawn ratio. Now, this is not what I would have liked to have seen in terms of nerfs. I would have liked to have seen, hip fire accuracy reduction, movement accuracy reduction, reduction to limb penetration, those kind of nerfs. Instead, they just chose to reduce the spawn rate by 30% roughly on every map. So hopefully you come across shotguns less, especially early game. But, I don't know how much of a change that's really going to make, because once you have a shotgun, you have it, P90 is being added to ranked modes and now will always spawn with at least 200 rounds of ammunition, as opposed to sometimes it only has like 150. So that's a buff to the P90. The heavy stock is now added in care packages for ranked more specifically, and it will spawn more often, meaning the tactical stocks are going to have a decreased spawn rate, because universally you're almost always going to want a heavy stock unless you're putting it on like a single tap fire gun. This is a dev comment. I'm not going to read through all this. I'll link the patch notes below in the description. You guys can read it if you want, but it's basically the dev's comment as to why they made the certain weapon changes that they did. In a nutshell, they're just trying to shake up the meta and create a bit more balance between the 7.62 and the 5.56 weaponry. They made a loot recommendation improvement in the UI. This can be turned off, but this is really geared for, newer-ish players who aren't familiar with what items can go on which guns. And basically a little arrow will highlight on the item if it's an attachment that you can use for weapons in your inventory. So it's kind of like a quick snapshot guide while you're looting to say, oh, do I need this item? Can I even use this item? It just helps speed up some of that process, like I said, for newer players or players who don't play as often as we do. They have some of the 6th anniversary visual scenery changes on, Erangel, Miramar, and Sandhawk. The 6th anniversary is coming up. When this update goes live, we should be seeing a bunch of new 6th anniversary skins, which I already showed you guys in a couple of videos. And it's untold if those will be free to earn in the game or if they'll be paid items. I'm betting on free to earn in the game, like using login events, daily missions, those kind of things. Deston added hills and valleys between Tarita and Barcliff to block more sight lines while traveling between those towns. And they also added this like a little dirt track kind of thing. I mean, this is just kind of like a meme place, but the fact that they are modifying the terrain to, kind of alleviate some of those flat open grounds is a very, very good thing, because having more terrain oscillations, more hills and dips makes for funner gameplay. They updated the trophy room with the PGC winners from last year, blah, blah, blah. That's all just different mode stuff, UI changes. finally, we are getting a Survivor Mastery update. I don't know how in depth they're going to take this, but essentially PUBG is adopting the old school Call of Duty prestige mode. If you remember in Call of Duty, you could rank a weapon up to like whatever 100 and then prestige that weapon, go back down to level 1 and go all the way through the tiers again, but you get a little, you know, a little medal, a charm, a symbol change. PUBG is doing the same thing. So now when your survival level maxes out at 500, you can now reset that to go to the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and up to tier 5 and go through the 500 levels again. But there's more. So you'll have a total of 2,500 maximum level. Technically, it'll still be level 500, but you'll be tier 5 level 500. So you'll have gone through 2,500 levels. And every time you level up, you see this little symbol here, you're going to acquire a loot cache, which is going to be used in the workshop for PUBG. So this is just basically going to give you BP, but there's random amounts of BP that you'll earn every time you rank up. So that's really cool. I think that's a good change. It gives people something to quote unquote grind for, or just a daily little thing to kind of interact with as you play the game, you know? So I think that's a good change overall. Workshop is getting a nice update in terms of some items being added. So all of the Survivor Pass Destin items are in the workshop now. The Bunny Academy items here on the left, that's in the workshop. PCS 7 items are now in the workshop. And the Burning Chicken Festival, this guy here, are now in the workshop. These are some really cool items from the Survivor Pass, from the Destin Pass, that are now going to be available technically for free because you can use the workshop with BP. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, watch a video that I link above you in the top right or down in the description. Full details on how to use the workshop. But that's awesome news for all players. Players who don't spend money and players who spend money in the game using credit code CDome. In addition to that, they've added special crafting section of the workshop using the artisan tokens. These are the 2 new sets that we were looking at in those skin leak videos that we reviewed. Those are officially in the workshop. They're 100 artisan tokens a piece, and they have the full outfits that, you know, we've seen that I showed you guys a few days ago. So that's cool. Bug fixes. Now I'm not going to go through all these, but there was one in particular that I wanted to highlight. Look at this one. This one kind of caught me off guard that it was just kind of casually listed in the bug fix. It says fixed the issue where attacks coming from a certain range pass through cover and damage you. Fix an issue where you'd get shot behind cover if the enemy was far enough away from you. I really wish they'd be more specific about what exactly they fix, because that seems pretty game breaking to know that you could have been getting shot behind cover if you were a certain amount of distance away from the enemy. I really wish they would have said like, hey, this was just a very rare one-time scenario, and here's where we fix it, because they kind of make it seem like this has been happening a lot. And again, I'm not going to go over all that stuff. You guys can read it in the patch notes. Nothing else was like game-changing, game-breaking, etc. Okay? So that's the patch notes. Now let's hop into the training mode, and let's actually go test out the Famas, the AUG, the M16, the M4, and the Mutante. Let's crouch. Watch the iron sights in this thing, chat. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for this? Look at the iron sights. I mean, you can't see diddly dick. This is the worst iron sight in the game for sure. But do you see the rate of fire of this weapon? Dude, this thing is insane. Red dot. Compensator. I mean, this thing's gonna be nuts. Yeah, so there's the Famas, and I wonder what the game tells us. Yeah, check this out. Look, so we have the Famas in our hands, and I'm gonna put my cursor over the AUG to see what the game tells me about it. The game tells me that the AUG has a higher damage per bullet, which it does. It has what, a 40. It went from 41 to 40, or 42 to 41. It has a slightly higher damage per bullet, but a lower damage per second which is one of the most important stats, damage DPS, damage per second, significantly lower rate of fire, and a slower muzzle velocity, meaning the bullets are going to get there slower. I mean, this Famas is going to be intense, man. I can't wait to actually use it like in a real game. And the fact that it uses 5.56, you know, is nice because it just kind of like takes the pressure away from a care package drop running out of ammo. You know, you have infinite ammo essentially. All right, so now let's go to the AUG doggy. Now this again got a nerf. They got a recoil nerf, damage nerf, rate of fire. Was it rate of fire nerf too? Let's see. Let me see something real quick. No attachments. I'm gonna actually try to control the recoil. I'm just curious. Uh-oh. That Famas is gonna be nuts, man. That Famas is gonna be nuts. Now the AUG, you know, you're gonna want to have attachments on it, of course. Let's see. Damn, I actually overcompensated there for the recoil. You saw I got pulled down too much. I mean, this thing is still gonna be beaming people, dude. Oh my gosh. This gun is still gonna be the one to pick up, I think, man. Like, obviously, if you get a Famas in a crate, pick it up. But golly, this thing's gonna rip. All right, let's see. So M4, they made it harder to control and lowered the damage. You can definitely notice that little horizontal there. The horizontal recoil is definitely noticeable. You see how like it jumps left and right? And this thing reduces horizontal recoil. I'm curious though. What if you now attach an angled, which is the best at controlling horizontal recoil? It definitely dialed it in a little bit there, but it's harder to control the vertical now. Let's do same attachments here. So we're gonna get compensator, mag, half grip. So again, I'm gonna try to actually control the shots here. The M4 definitely seems easier to control, but boy, oh boy, I tell you what, the all. My knee-jerk reaction, again, I haven't done the math and done all the extensive testing, but knee-jerk reaction talking to you guys is, yeah, you're going to want to pick up the AUG. So they increased rate of fire by 200 rounds per minute. So let me just see. If I just tap fire as fast as I can, what happens here? Pretty fast. Okay, and what if we do burst? Oh, God. All right. Let's see. Let's try to dial it in a little bit. Let's try focus. Oh, so the burst. There's a trick to the burst. You can't just like hit it. You have to like wait till that last bullet's about to shoot and then hit it again. You know. But if you find that sweet spot, this thing does kick. That is, dude, that is good. Like, that is gonna rock too. Holy shit. That is gonna rock. I mean, that sounds like an automatic weapon. That sounds like an automatic weapon. Oh my gosh. Jeez. Oh my God, this is broken. This is broken. Overall impressions. The M16 and the Mutant have always been fun guns to use. They've also been pretty viable in niche situations. This new buff with plus 200 rate of fire for both of them make them very deadly in the right hands now. Very, very deadly. I still think overall, 90% of players are going to do better more consistently with an assault rifle. Then on the topics of assault rifle, the Famas is you want to pick that gun up. You do not want to leave that gun in the crate. Trust me, pick that gun up. Even with the 30 bullets per magazine, pick it up. The AUG, I think, is going to be the king of 5.56 over the M4, which I'm not mad at. I'm totally on board with that change. I think the M4 probably didn't need the damage nerf that it received. I think it probably could have been okay if the damage stayed the same and those two guns were kind of like neck and neck, so to speak. You know, the AUG probably has a little bit of an advantage anyway, given the higher rate of fire and bullet velocity. But right since the M4 got nerfed, the AUG for sure is the one you want to pick up. Well, I guess the other thing that I don't think anyone's really mentioned yet is the whole reason they did these weapon changes is because 7.62 has been so dominant. If you go look at the PUBG weapon chart of their usage, the Beryl is by far the highest used assault rifle. SLR is the highest used DMR. And so I think they're doing these changes to introduce more viability in the 5.56 meta. And ultimately, I guess the question is, if you're a Beryl main, if you love using the Beryl or the Ace, are you now going to pick up the AUG because it's in the world spawn and because it is a very good weapon? I don't know. The stats, the data, we'll have to see that after, a month playtime or something like that. But because the Beryl probably is still going to be the higher DPS weapon right now. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see.